Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Tiny Tim, King for a Day. And this is a new documentary about the musical artist Tiny Tim, who had a very unique ukulele-infused sound along with a very, very high voice, and put out some very unique music with a very unique stage presence, and also a very enigmatic kind of persona. And this film is like an hour and 18 minutes of diving into this man's career, his life, and a little bit into who he was. And it's interesting, it's narrated by Weird Al Yankovic, and I can see why. And there's definitely some similarities, I think, in their energy as performers. And I'm a huge Weird Al fan. Huge Weird Al fan. That might not be surprising. But anyway, this documentary focuses on Tiny Tim's story, and you see him, you hear from people in his life giving perspective on how different he was as a person, and his perspective on women and these crushes, but not being able to really commit to people and be there for people. And there's definitely a sense of he was very socially awkward and didn't feel comfortable in a lot of these situations, and it was hard to connect with people. They show him being married multiple times throughout his life, to some of them much younger women, some of them for a very short period of time, and he used humor and these, honestly, sexist kinds of perspectives on things that, the film presents, because they show him a lot on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, where he got married, apparently, on there. And the funny thing is, I've heard some of his songs and things, and I'm didn't realize it was a male artist, to be perfectly honest. And that's so interesting and unique about him as a performer. And he was such a strange character. And this documentary, it's not the most well fleshed out, highly technically put together documentary, but I feel like the documentary really captures the spirit of this man and his experiences. It might not put a whole lot of, too much of a spotlight on some of his shortcomings. It does present some of the things that he said. One moment that really made me feel uncomfortable was when he was being interviewed by Johnny Carson and how his wife left, and he's like, that's life sometimes. And I hope maybe down the road she comes back on my terms. And obviously you could tell he's doing it for laughs, but is he? I don't know. And that's it was hard to read him, and you could tell Johnny Carson had a hard time reading him too. And he wound up no, what's your terms? And he's like, after a blood test. And I'm like, And I'm like, obviously, it's there's some cringe there in terms of some of that. And it does present some of those things, but honestly, this film does put a spotlight on this strange, but really unique and influential artist who was a shocking star. And the energy that he brought, the liveliness he brought to his music, and just this persona that he brought forth. And it's such an interesting film. And I really hope that, I knew nothing about Tiny Tim. Obviously, one of the things that grabbed my attention was because Weird Al was involved. But, watching this, I was glad that I watched this film because I love music, and I love learning more about music and different perspectives. And, this is an interesting guy who made a really interesting impact on music. So I definitely think Tiny Tim, A King for a Day, is definitely a documentary worth checking out when this comes out and is available on VOD or in theaters. So go check it out. You'll be very intrigued by the crazy story that's presented in this film. But those are my thoughts on Tiny Tim, King for a Day. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.